Hey girlies, it's Tammy. Welcome back to my channel. So in today's video we're going to be talking high-end products, which is not something I usually do on my channel, but when I did my drugstore starter kit I actually got a DM from one of you guys asking me if I would do a high-end version. So I thought I would make this video for my girlies that do like a little bit of high-end in their life. Either you want to add some high-end products and you want to know what is like the go-to, what is actually worth the money, then this video is for you. Or if all you buy is high-end and you want to see what I recommend, then definitely this video is for you. Or if you just want to see a tutorial on this look, then definitely this video is for you. So let's just go ahead and jump into it. Also guys, I am blonde today. I thought I would change it up, and I used this wig a few days ago on my Instagram and I got so many like compliments and DMs and messages about it, so I thought I would rock it for a YouTube video as well. This might become my new vibe for a little while until I don't like it anymore, but yeah, for now I am loving it. So first we're going to talk about primer. So this one you guys might have heard me talk about before. I absolutely love the blurring effect that this has on my skin. It just kind of minimizes your pores, especially once you've got all of your makeup on. You can definitely tell that your pores are like blurred and smoothed and they're just like non-existent. This is the Fasali Skin Tune Blur Primer. I love this primer so much. This is actually my second bottle. I've already been through one of them. The smoothness that it gives the skin, like if you have textured skin or like large pores, you will absolutely love this, so definitely highly recommend. Another one that kind of does the same thing is the new Laura Mercier Blurring Primer. I'm not surprised that I fell in love with this because it is literally kind of the same thing as the Skin Tune Blur. Goes on like a liquid, and then as you're pressing it in, it just soaks into the skin and blurs the skin. And this one does say it's silicone free as well, so it doesn't have that silicone slippy slidey feel. It's a really nice primer, guys. Definitely recommend checking those out. So for once I'm actually going to be talking about brows in my video. I don't usually talk about my brows, but lately I've been doing them differently and I absolutely love how they look. I'm still using the same product that I always use, but I'm just doing it differently. I'm doing it more straight, mostly because I wanted more eyelid space for my eyeshadow, but in the end it worked out because I really like this new shape and I'm getting tons of compliments from you guys about it. So I thought I would just tell you guys how I do it. I use the Benefit Brow. It's kind of like a pomade gel type of thing. I use this literally to just outline my brow and then fill it in as well. Then when I get to the beginning of my brow, I kind of turn my brush on its side so it's horizontal and flick it up. And I just love how quick and easy this product is. It just works so beautifully for my brows and it dries down and it lasts all day, and it is waterproof as well. So if you are oily skin like me, it won't be slipping and sliding throughout the day. Really nice brow product, my favorite from Benefit. Now to clean up my brows, I tend to go in with the Fenty Beauty concealer, only because I don't really like this concealer on my face and underneath my eyes. It just makes me look older. I don't know, I've never come across a concealer that does that to me, but this one really does make me look so textured and wrinkled underneath my eyes, and I don't have that much wrinkles thankfully yet. So instead I go ahead and use it around my brows. I really like how, you know, pigmented it is, and also it dries down. Also, quick tip, when I am cleaning up my brows, I take the same concealer brush and flip it on its side and do brow strokes through my hair. It kind of just fades the beginning of my brows and gives me the illusion of like even more brow hairs than I actually have. Now moving on to foundation. This was the hardest bit when I was picking out all of the products because guys, I have so many favorites. I have favorites that I use for like long wearing days, mattifying foundations, full coverage foundations, but also I have like the radiant foundations that look good in filming and they look good in pictures and they look good in real life too, but just not long wearing on my skin. Let's go ahead and start with the one that I'm actually wearing today, which is the Estee Lauder Double Wear. I asked you guys on my Instagram what is your favorite high-end foundation because I was struggling so hard to like pick mine, and tons of you said either the Fenty or the Estee Lauder or the NARS foundation. They were the most mentioned by you guys as your favorite, so I thought I would go ahead and use this one because I haven't used it in a while, and guys, it's so flawless. It dries down matte, it's full coverage. If you have oily skin, I feel like you will absolutely love this foundation, especially if you like full coverage. If you don't, I have a friend that kind of shears out the foundation with like a liquid illuminator. Another similar foundation to the Estee Lauder is the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush foundation. I've mentioned this a few times. I love the formula of this foundation. Dries down matte, really full coverage, like it just perfects your whole skin. But I can't find my right shade in this foundation. The undertones are so orange. First I tried 13 Neutral and it was literally orange on my skin, so I went ahead and got the shade 11 Neutral, and even this is still so warm tone. I thought because it is neutral undertone it will kind of have a neutral undertone. Duh. Every time I use this foundation I end up mixing it with something else because the shade is just so orangey on me. I just just can't deal with it. It looks so weird. Okay, so let me go ahead and wrap this up quickly. 2 more recommendations for oily skin types. The Urban Decay Stay Naked Weightless Liquid Foundation. Love this. Once again, I bought 2 shades in this because I wasn't sure in my shade, but in the end I settled on the shade 70NN for my skin tone, and I feel like this foundation once again dries down matte, high medium coverage, not super full coverage, but you can build it up, so it is buildable. But beautiful formula, exactly what I look for in a foundation. And yeah, really enjoy using this, as well as the concealer. I love the concealer that goes along with it. Another one that I've fallen in love with recently, you guys might have seen this in my testing new makeup video, the KVD Vegan Beauty True Portrait Liquid to Powder Foundation. So this is a matte foundation. Once again, you blend it out and then it dries down, and it's just such a long wearing foundation. Once again, full coverage. They claim it to be medium coverage, but in my opinion it had full coverage when I use it. I've used it tons of times since I filmed that first impressions, and honestly every time I use it, it just looks beautiful. However, I have noticed that when I use cream products on top of it, it does go a bit like weird. It does start to break up. I feel like that's because it's dried down. Once it's dried, it's like it doesn't like to be manipulated, if that makes sense. When I used a cream contour on top of this foundation when it was dry, it's like it broke up and it didn't want to blend nicely. However, when I used a cream contour on this foundation when it was still wet, it blended perfectly. So I feel like it's one of those foundations that once it's dry, it doesn't want to be touched, it doesn't want to be manipulated, otherwise it goes weird. So those are my combo to oily skin recommendations, and I thought I would throw in a couple recommendations for my dry skin, normal skin girlies out there. So first of all, I have 2 luminous radiant foundations that I kind of feel like on my skin tone are the same thing. So first of all, we have the NARS Natural Radiant Longwear Foundation, and then the Anastasia, what is this called, Luminous Foundation. To me, these are the same product. They're both very glowy, very dewy on me. They don't last really well on my oily skin, in terms of I would definitely need to touch up halfway throughout the day, which some days I don't mind. If I'm at home or I'm just running errands, I'm not doing much that day, I don't mind touching up my foundation. It's just when I have long days like meetings and events, well, this was my previous life before lockdown, but when I had long days with meetings and events and stuff, I don't like touching up, so I just didn't go for luminous foundations for long days. But if I'm at home and I'm not doing much, I don't mind wearing a foundation like this because it is gorgeous on the skin in terms of it looks skin-like. It's still full coverage, these 2 foundations, and it just looks beautiful on the skin, but it's not long wearing on oily skin, so I'm just putting that out there. Another one is the Too Faced Born This Way. This is definitely more dewy, more radiant on my skin type. Now this is all what I'm told, this is my skin and what I experience, because some people use the NARS Natural Radiant and tell me it's matte, and some people use the Too Faced Born This Way and tell me it's matte. So I mean, people experience different things on their skin, but for me these are glowy, dewy, very radiant foundations. However, this one does have a beautiful formula in terms of being full coverage. It looks gorgeous on the skin. If you do like a skin-like type of radiant finish, this would be a gorgeous foundation for you. And last but not least, quickly, just so this video is not all about foundations, the Shiseido Synchro Skin Self Refreshing Foundation. I feel like this is a beautiful foundation for normal to dry skin. It does work for me, but I definitely need to touch up halfway throughout the day. Just dab over it with my sponge. When I say touch up, by the way, guys, I literally just take the sponge that I used to do my makeup that day and just dab over the areas like that. So I don't even take any extra products, just dabbing over my oily areas is what I consider touching up. But this one looks beautiful on the skin nonetheless. I think if you have normal to dry skin, you will really like this foundation. So yeah, that is all of the foundations that I'm going to talk about. Now we're going to move on. Okay, so next we're going to be talking about eyeshadows, and as I went through my drawers looking at my high-end eyeshadow palettes, I was thinking which ones invoke feelings in me, which ones make me just so excited to use them. And guys, I have to admit that the ABH Norvina collection really does like inspire me in terms of color schemes, pigmentation, palette layout, like everything about these palettes I absolutely love. And sometimes I feel bad for liking these because some people don't like the way they were released, you know, one after the other. But honestly, if we just forget all of that in terms of palette stories, pigmentation, like everything about these palettes, I really like them, especially when we're talking high-end palettes. Like none of my other like Urban Decay, Natasha Denona, none of them inspire me the way these do. So I'm just gonna stick with my gut and tell you guys what I I truly love, and it is these palettes. So I have actually ranked them because I just got the new one, the volume 4, in the post the other day, which looks like this. I'm going to be doing a video with it, don't worry guys. I asked you guys on my Instagram what you thought about it, and it was so mixed. Like, people were like, it's so boring compared to the other ones, and then people that were like, I don't like the other ones, this one's right up my street. So it was very mixed opinions. It seems like if you're a neutral lover, neutral pinky lover, you love this, but if you like color, you're not gonna love this one. This one's actually my least favorite out of the collection, only because the shades are just so light for my skin tone. There's no colors to add deep dark outer V, do you know what I mean? Like, there's no depth to this palette apart from this color here. There's literally no dark colors in here. It's quite a, I feel like if you had a light medium skin tone and you like pinky neutrals, you would like this. Coming in at number 3 is the volume 2 palette. I absolutely love this palette. Blues and greens and so many gorgeous shades in here, mostly matte, so you get to play with a lot of color in here. And if the other 2 palettes didn't exist, this would definitely be number 1, but because the other 2 palettes do exist, this is place number 3. But I love the quality of this palette. Love the looks that I got from this as well. I did a 4 looks 1 palette with this, so definitely check that out. In at number 2 we have the volume 1. This is full of the gorgeous pinks and purples. Really love the quality of these palettes. The shimmers aren't my top favorite shimmer formula. They're quite hard pressed, but they still perform beautifully on the eyes, as you can see. So yeah, I really love this palette as well. Then my favorite palette in terms of color story is definitely the one I used today, which is the volume 3. Tons of you guys like this one as well. I think I did a 3 looks 1 palette with this palette as well. This palette just invokes so much inspiration in me. It just makes me want to create so many different eye looks. I just love this color scheme, the greens with the oranges and the reds and the purples. I mean, you just get everything in here, and this eye look is just serving. Oh, I love this. So I'm going to quickly talk you through how I achieved this eye look, and then we'll move on to my favorite concealers. So first I went ahead and took the shade E2 and blended it onto the outer and inner corner. Then I took the bright orange shade, which is A5, and diffused that darker burgundy shade out. And then right up by the brow bone, I took this kind of lime greeny yellow shade called A1, and I just blended out the orange with that. Then on the center of my lid, I went in with the shade D5, which is like an orangey gold type of shimmer. Then I went into the purple shimmer called E5 and blended out the edges of that gold. So I put that purple shimmer in between the gold and the dark outer corners. And then last but not least, I went in with the shade C1 and I put that on my inner corner, which is just like a shimmery gold shade. And that is how I did the look, guys. Also on my lower lash line, I went in with the orange again, the A5 shade, and a little bit of the dark burgundy E2, and that is my lower lash line. So that is the look, guys. What do you think? I am obsessed. I absolutely love these palettes. They honestly inspire me so much. I am a fan of big palettes. I do like having the variety and the selection. I do like, you know, kind of custom making my own looks. I have heard people say that if you don't have an eye for eyeshadows, like what colors should go together, these palettes can be quite overwhelming and quite confusing, which I totally understand. Now moving on to concealer, I went ahead and used my favorite high-end concealer today, which is the Jouer Essential High Coverage Concealer. This is my second tube of this. I actually went through my first tube, and this is the best high-end concealer in my opinion. So underrated. I don't hear people talking about it, but it's so full coverage. It blends out like a dream. It dries down eventually, but you have playtime with it. You can definitely leave it sitting underneath your eyes for a little while. And even though it dries down, I wouldn't consider it mattifying. I wouldn't say it's as dry as the e.l.f. concealer or the Tarte concealer. I feel like it still has a little bit of slip to it, but it's not super, oh, I just saw it's called a soft matte and it has hyaluronic acid. That makes sense. Just trust me, guys, if you try this concealer, you will absolutely fall in love. Next, of course, we have the cult favorite Too Faced Born This Way concealer. This one is a little bit more hydrating than the Jouer. I feel like you could leave this sitting underneath your eyes for like half an hour and it won't dry down, if you know what I mean. But the coverage on this concealer is insane. It works on my oily skin. It doesn't break up or crease really bad, but it's not my top go-to concealer. I could use it and love it, but compared to Jouer, if you ask me which one should I get, I would say Jouer. And last but not least, we have the Urban Decay Stay Naked concealer. I find that this concealer dries down matte, lasts all day. Really nice coverage on this. I really like this concealer. I use the shade 60WR to brighten underneath my eyes, and it's just such a gorgeous formula. Now for cream contour, I only have one product, and you guys probably know what it is because I love this Huda Beauty Tan Tool. Like, guys, I hit pan on this ages ago. It's gonna finish soon and I need to get another one because, to be honest, I don't know if I can live without this. This blends beautifully. Some cream contours you can put it on and it just doesn't move. Do you know what I mean? It's such a dry formula, but this is so creamy, but then once it's set, it's set. I find with the Fenty, the new Fenty cream ones, they are a little bit too dewy for my skin. If I don't set it, it just sits on the skin looking glowy, which I don't really like, and this just does it for me. It's such a beautiful formula. It's dark enough. This is the shade medium. Like, what, they have so many darker shades than this as well. Let's talk about face powders. So we have another Huda Beauty products. Definitely recommend checking out the Easy Bake powders. So flawless, guys, underneath the eyes. Oop, I think that was still open. This powder is so finely milled, it just melts into the skin, especially when you're pressing it in with a sponge. You don't have to bake, even though it's called Easy Bake. What I usually do is take some, dab it off onto the back of my hand, and then press it into the skin, and it just melts into your face and it makes your makeup last longer. If you were to get anything from the Huda Beauty line, these two products I highly recommend. Another face powder that is of course a cult favorite is the Laura Mercier powder. Once again, sets the face really beautifully. This is the shade Translucent. They do also have a translucent medium deep powder, I think, but I prefer the translucent just because it doesn't change the color of my foundation, but it also kind of slightly brightens underneath my eyes. If you use a little bit of the powder kind of dusted all over your face with a brush, it doesn't change the color of your foundation, but if you pack it on with a sponge underneath your eyes, you can get a nice brightening effect, but no kind of flashback craziness or anything like that. Now for bronzer, I picked out the Morphe bronzer only because this is £19, which is like a high-end price to me, in my opinion, and this is what it looks like. I use the shade Leader, but once again they have tons of shades, and this is such a humongous bronzer, but for £19 I think that classifies as high-end. Morphe killed it with this bronzer shade. I love the formula. I've been using this every single day since I got it, and it's just such a beautiful bronzer. And for blusher, I absolutely love this KVD Everlasting blush in the shade Poppy. This is the orangey coral type of color that I think suits my skin tone so well. I absolutely love the packaging of this as well. It's kind of like a raised flower. Once again, blends out beautifully, doesn't grab to any spots. And it lasts really well. It's called the Everlasting blusher, but it lasts really well. Sticking with KVD, my favorite face powder is the Lock-It powder foundation in the shade Deep 200. You guys, this is the only face powder I use, as you can probably tell. Like, I love this. It's so full coverage, but also it melts all of my face products together. So it melts my bronzer with my foundation and my blusher and highlight. It just kind of merges everything together for a seamless blend. It is a powder foundation, so it is very pigmented. You don't need a lot. Usually what I do is one dip in and kind of dust it all over my face, and that is more than enough. Let's talk about highlight before we move on to lip products. So I love this Illamasqua powder. The type of highlights that I like are the skin-like subtle highlights. I don't like highlights that are blinding and like super texturizing on my face. I like the ones that you can't really tell you're wearing highlight until you turn and then you see this nice subtle glow. That's what I like. This is such a beautiful, very finely milled, subtle highlighter. This is called the Illamasqua Beyond powder in the shade OMG. Now last but not least, let's talk lip products. So first of all, I have a lip liner from Kevyn Aucoin that is absolutely gorgeous, very pigmented. This is the shade New Naked, which is this gorgeous dark brown that I'm wearing right now. Glides on really well, nice and pigmented. It just blends really well. It also has a brush on the other side, so you can kind of merge the lip liner with the lip product that you're wearing, so you can just kind of dust it and it will blend them together. I love the Shiseido Power Matte, I think they're called, or Powder Matte Modern Matte Powder Lipstick. Honestly, they appear matte on the lips, really comfortable, definitely a beautiful formula. This is the shade Nude Streak, which I'm wearing right now. It lasts really well on my lips as well. I've been talking a lot in this video and it's still standing. It feels really creamy and comfortable and lightweight on the lips, but it looks matte, which I absolutely love. So definitely recommend the Shiseido lipsticks. But if you are more of a gloss girl, the Shiseido Crystal Gel Gloss is beautiful. I'm gonna put a little bit on actually. This formula is so shiny, so reflective, but only with the smallest amount. It is a squeeze tube, by the way. And look, I'm just gonna spread some of it on my lips. Look how glossy that is. How stunning. And it's not sticky, it's very like glidey, moisturizing, very beautiful lip gloss. I cannot explain how gorgeous this is. Well, you guys can see it for yourself. Beautiful, beautiful gloss. And that is it, guys. That is all of the products that I wanted to talk about. I hope today's video wasn't too long for you, but I also hope you got some cool recommendations. If you do have any of these products, let us know down below your thoughts on them. Let us know your favorite high-end foundation, favorite high-end concealer, powder, all of that good stuff. And yeah, please give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Make sure you are subscribed, and I'll catch you guys in my next one. Take care. Bye.